There comes a moment. Not loud. Not dramatic. A moment when life begins to feel quieter. Not because the world has changed, but because something inside you has stopped reaching outward. The constant pull. The restless hunger. The need to escape sensation. It loosens its grip. And in that loosening you feel it. A deeper presence settling into your body. Retention is not restraint. It is not denial. It is the decision to stay. To remain with your own energy. Without immediately giving it away. And when you stay long enough, silence appears. Not empty silence. Not forced silence. A living silence. One that listens back. This is where power begins, not in action, but in stillness. Let the pace slow. Let the words breathe. Nothing is required of you right now, except attention. At first, retention feels like effort. A physical choice. A moment of resistance. You notice the urge rise. Familiar, automatic, persuasive. And instead of moving with it, you pause. Just long enough to feel it fully. This pause is small, but it changes everything. Because for the first time, energy that once rushed outward has nowhere to go. So it turns inward. You begin to feel your body more clearly. Your breath deepens. Your posture shifts without intention. The mind, used to chasing release, starts to slow. Confused at first. Then curious. Thoughts lose urgency. They still appear. But they no longer demand obedience. You are not suppressing desire. You are observing it. And observation transforms relationship. The moment you stop identifying with the urge, it loses its authority. Not through force, but through awareness. This is the first awakening. The realization that you are not the impulse. You are the space in which it arises. And in that space, something ancient wakes up. A grounded presence. A quiet steadiness. You haven't gained anything new. You've simply stopped leaking what was already yours. This is the turning inward. And once it begins, there is no going back to unconscious release. Only deeper presence. The urge returns. It always does. Not as an enemy, but as a familiar signal. A sensation in the body. A tightening. A pull toward release. Before, this moment decided everything. Action followed impulse without space. But now, there is distance. You notice the urge without moving toward it. Without pushing it away. You let it exist. And for the first time you see the truth. Urges are not commands. They are waves. They rise slowly. Build pressure. Peak. And if you stay still long enough, they fall. This is not willpower. This is patience. A patience that reveals how temporary desire truly is. As you remain present, the body begins to relax. The tension dissolves on its own. The mind, expecting resistance, finds none. There is no internal battle. Only quiet observation. This is where silence enters. Not the silence of emptiness, but the silence of understanding. You realize something subtle yet profound. Urges feed on reaction. When there is no reaction, they starve. They lose their voice. The space inside you grows wider. Breath slows. The nervous system settles. You are no longer being pulled forward by instinct. You are standing in awareness. And from this place, control becomes unnecessary. There is nothing to control. Because nothing is overpowering you. This is power without tension. A calm authority that doesn't announce itself. The body learns safety in stillness. The mind learns trust in silence. And each time an urge rises and passes, something within you strengthens. Not pride. Not ego. Presence. Retention is not about resisting desire forever. It is about seeing desire clearly, without losing yourself to it. And clarity, once tasted, cannot be forgotten. As retention continues, you begin to notice something subtle. Your energy feels closer. Before, it lived in anticipation, in fantasy, in projection, in what might happen next. Now it gathers. It settles into the body. You feel it in your chest as warmth, in your spine as steadiness, in your breath as depth. Nothing mystical is required to notice this. Only attention. The more energy stays within you, the more aware you become. Awareness and energy begin to feel like the same thing. When energy was scattered, your mind was restless. When energy is retained, your mind grows still. Not forced into silence, but naturally quiet. You begin to experience moments where thinking simply stops. Not blank, not empty, just clear. You are present with what is happening, without commentary. Walking feels different now. Each step lands with intention. Each movement is felt from the inside. Even stillness feels alive. You notice the space between breaths, the pause between thoughts, the gap between impulse and action. And in those gaps, something opens. A deeper sensitivity. You hear tone more clearly. You sense tension sooner. You recognize distraction before it pulls you away. This is not overthinking. This is attunement. Your awareness sharpens because it is no longer diluted. Silence becomes rich. It is no longer something you endure. It is something you inhabit. The mind stops searching for stimulation, because presence itself feels sufficient. This is the moment many miss. They expect power to feel explosive, aggressive, loud. But real power feels like this. Grounded, centered, unshakable. Retention does not make you rigid. It makes you receptive. You respond instead of react. You choose instead of obey. Energy no longer leaks into imagination and impulse. It circulates, nourishing clarity, stability, and calm attention. You are not becoming something new. You are remembering how it feels to be fully here. And once awareness becomes embodied like this, silence is no longer the absence of sound. It is presence itself. As silence deepens, you begin to notice a change, not in what you do, but in why you do it. The constant urge to be seen, to be recognized, to be validated. It begins to soften, not because you've rejected it, but because it no longer feels necessary. The ego thrives on reaction, on attention, on comparison. It feeds on noise. And now, surrounded by stillness, it has less to hold on to. You speak a little less. But when you do, your words carry weight. You move without needing approval, without rehearsing how you'll be perceived. There is a quiet confidence here. Not loud, not performative, but rooted. You notice how often the ego once reacted to protect itself, defending opinions, proving worth, chasing identity. Now those impulses arise, but they no longer dominate. You see them as patterns, conditioning. They pass like everything else. Silence exposes how much of identity was built from external feedback, likes, reactions, recognition. When those inputs fade, something more stable emerges. You begin to feel yourself from the inside, not as an image, but as a presence. This presence does not need to be affirmed. It simply is. You don't feel smaller without the ego's noise. You feel clearer, lighter. There is less inner tension, less internal negotiation. You are not trying to maintain a version of yourself anymore. You are just here. Retention plays a crucial role in this. When energy is constantly released, the ego remains stimulated. It seeks novelty, excitement, external proof of power. But when energy is retained, attention turns inward, and inward attention dissolves illusion. The ego does not disappear. It relaxes. It stops gripping. You can still act, still create, still express. But now, action comes from alignment, not insecurity, from clarity, not compulsion. This is humility without weakness, strength without aggression. A self that does not need to announce itself. And in that quiet self, you feel something unfamiliar yet deeply natural. Freedom. As the ego softens, your emotional world begins to change. Not in the way most people expect. Emotions don't disappear. They don't flatten out. They don't become distant. They become spacious. You still feel desire. You still feel frustration. You still feel sadness, joy, longing. But these emotions no longer rush through you unchecked. They arrive. They announce themselves. And they wait. You notice the sensation first. Tightness in the chest. heat in the stomach, a subtle contraction in the jaw. Before, this sensation would demand action, a reaction, an escape. Now, it is simply information. You allowed the feeling to exist, without naming it as a problem. This changes everything. Because emotion feeds on resistance, on stories, on identification. When you stop saying this shouldn't be here, the emotion has nothing to fight against. It begins to settle. Your breath deepens naturally. Your body softens. You are no longer trying to manage your emotional state. You are allowing it. This is emotional maturity, not control, but presence. Retention strengthens this capacity. When energy is retained, the nervous system stabilizes. The constant spikes and crashes soften. You feel less reactive, less volatile. Not because life is easier, but because you are steadier. There is a quiet confidence in knowing you can feel deeply, without being overwhelmed. You trust yourself with your own emotions. This trust becomes an anchor. When something challenging happens, you don't immediately escape into distraction. You stay. You breathe. You feel the moment fully. And in doing so, you discover something surprising. Emotion, when allowed, moves quickly. It does not linger. What lingers is resistance. What lingers is avoidance. Silence gives emotion space to complete themselves. And completion brings calm. This calm is not fragile. It does not depend on circumstances. It is rooted in your ability to remain present with yourself. Retention has taught you this. That stillness is not numbness. It is strength. That feeling deeply does not make you weak. It makes you grounded. And from this emotional stillness, a new kind of clarity begins to emerge. One that prepares you for focused action, without force. As emotional stillness settles, your relationship with effort begins to change. Before, focus felt like struggle. You pushed your attention forward. You forced discipline through tension. Now, focus arrives on its own. You sit with a task, and the mind doesn't immediately scatter. There is less internal noise competing for attention. Less need to check, escape, or stimulate. This is not because you've become stricter, but because your energy is no longer fragmented. Retention gathers what was once scattered, and gathered energy sharpens intention. You notice how quickly distraction loses its appeal. Not through willpower, but through lack of interest. The mind no longer needs constant novelty. Presence itself is engaging. You begin to move through tasks slowly, deliberately. One thing at a time. Each action feels complete, because attention is fully inside it. This is focus without tension, without the clenched jaw, without the tight chest. Breathing stays deep. The body remains relaxed. And because there is no resistance, momentum builds naturally. You do less, but what you do carries weight. Hours pass without exhaustion. Not because you're working harder, but because you're leaking less energy. This kind of focus is sustainable. It does not burn you out. It doesn't depend on motivation spikes. It flows from inner alignment. Retention has recalibrated your nervous system. The constant seeking has quieted. The baseline of attention has risen. You can sit in silence and remain awake. You can work in stillness and remain alert. This is rare. Most people confuse intensity with effectiveness. They push harder when clarity fades. But clarity does not respond to force. It responds to space. Silence provides that space. And within it, focus organizes itself. You begin to trust your pacing. You no longer rush to finish. You let actions unfold at their own speed. This creates precision. Mistakes decrease. Decisions improve. You see further ahead. Because the mind is no longer crowded. This focus changes more than productivity. It reshapes how you move through life. You listen fully when someone speaks. You pause before responding. You choose words carefully. There is no hurry to fill space. And in that unhurried presence, people feel your attention. It is calm, grounded, unforced. Retention has taught you this. That power does not require pressure. It emerges naturally, when silence becomes your foundation. With focus comes a subtle shift in the body. It begins quietly. A sensation of alignment. A gentle alertness in the spine. A softening in the shoulders. A grounding in the feet that wasn't there before. You begin to inhabit your body differently. Before, energy often rushed outward, scattered through distraction, impulse, and reaction. Now, it circulates inward. It fills the body from the inside out. Each movement feels deliberate. Each breath carries weight. Even stillness becomes tangible. You notice how tension dissolves naturally. No effort. No forcing posture. The body knows balance. The nervous system settles into calm alertness. And with this physical grounding comes confidence. Not the loud, performative kind, but a quiet, undeniable assurance. You feel rooted, centered, capable of standing, without proving anything to anyone. Every step you take is anchored. Every gesture intentional. Not because you are controlling it, but because presence informs action. You notice energy rising and falling in rhythm with your breath. The body becomes a teacher. Each subtle sensation reveals where tension lingers, where tension remains, where release is possible. Even subtle habits, the ones you never paid attention to, begin to correct themselves. You sit straighter, move more fluidly, breathe more fully. The body responds to the stillness of the mind, and the mind responds to the stability of the body. It is a dialogue, a feedback loop, that quietly strengthens your presence. This is embodiment. Not merely discipline, not performance, but full inhabitation of yourself. Awake, grounded, alive. The power of retention is no longer abstract. It is felt. It moves through muscles, bones, and sinews, through the quiet rhythm of breath and heartbeat. You are not just aware. You are awake in your own body. And in this awakening, you feel what many never do. A strength that does not need to assert itself. A confidence that does not demand recognition. A calm that does not need explanation. This is silent authority. Embodied wisdom. Presence made physical. With the body awake and the mind calm, something subtle begins to emerge. A sense of inner authority. It is not loud. It does not demand attention. It does not seek validation. It is quiet, steady, unshakable. You notice how often you once waited. For permission, for signals, for approval. A thought, a glance, a word from someone else could decide your next action. Now, those external signals matter less. Not because the world has changed, but because you have grown accustomed to listening inward. Decisions arise with clarity. Intuition feels sharper. Timing feels natural. You do not rush. You do not push. You do not manipulate circumstances to fit your desires. Instead, you observe. You sense. You choose. Inner authority is not about control. It is about alignment. The alignment of thought, body, and energy. The recognition that your presence itself is sufficient. You begin to understand that every impulse, every urge, every moment of restlessness can be met with awareness rather than reaction. And with this awareness comes sovereignty. You are no longer subject to impulses. You are no longer pulled by external validation. You are a steady observer and a careful participant. Every interaction becomes measured. Every word carries weight. Every action arises from intent, not from compulsion or fear. You notice how others respond differently to you. Not because you assert dominance, but because you carry presence. You do not need to impress. You simply are. Inner authority teaches you patience. Patience with yourself. Patience with life. Patience with the unfolding of events. You trust timing. You trust judgment. You trust your body and mind to act when the moment is right. And in that trust, there is freedom. Freedom from constant struggle. Freedom from comparison. Freedom from the need to prove yourself. Your actions become deliberate. Your energy is precise. Your awareness is unobstructed. This is not arrogance. This is sovereignty. A quiet command over yourself that does not require recognition. Retention has taught you the foundation of this authority. By holding your energy, you have cultivated clarity. By remaining silent within, you have strengthened discernment. By observing impulses without reacting, you have nurtured judgment. And now, power flows naturally through presence. Not through force. Not through coercion. But through alignment with yourself. This is mastery of the self. Not through external achievement, but through inward awareness. And once it is felt, you realize, you no longer follow life, you move with it. Guided by calm, unshakable inner authority. By now, silence is no longer something you enter, it is something you carry. It moves with you. It inhabits the spaces you occupy. It flows through the way you walk, speak, and breathe. You notice it most in the ordinary moments. The pause before you respond to a question. The stillness between steps as you move. The quiet in a room crowded with noise. Stillness has become a lens through which you perceive life. Not a retreat from it, but a way to meet it fully. Where once you reacted automatically, you now respond consciously. Where once chaos would scatter your attention, you remain centered. Where once impulses pulled you outward, you stay grounded. Presence emerges from this stillness. Not performative presence. Not the need to impress or be recognized, but the quiet awareness that radiates naturally from within. People feel it without words. A calm confidence that does not demand anything, yet leaves a subtle imprint. You discover that silence is not absence, it is fullness. Fullness of perception. Fullness of attention. Fullness of being. And with this fullness comes a freedom that few experience. You are no longer bound to constant stimulation. You do not need to react to every event. Nor do you seek to control outcomes. You simply inhabit each moment fully. This stillness transforms interaction, too. When someone speaks to you, you listen completely. Not waiting for a pause to respond, but absorbing their words with clarity and presence. The energy of the conversation shifts naturally, because you no longer leak attention into distraction. Even in movement you carry it. Your actions become intentional. Your steps grounded. Your gestures deliberate. Stillness gives time for thought, but it does not trap you in overthinking. It allows insight to arise effortlessly. Like ripples expanding across a calm pond. Retention has taught you this subtlety. The power of holding energy inward, of observing without reacting, has created a mind that is still yet awake, quiet yet fully engaged. And here lies the paradox. The more silent you become, the more alive you feel, the less you seek outside stimulation, the more connected you are to the world around you. Silence has become a companion. Presence has become your way of moving through life. You do not need to speak loudly to be heard. You do not need to act aggressively to be felt. You are already known by yourself. And that recognition flows outward naturally. Stillness is power. Not the kind of power that dominates, but the kind that quietly shapes reality. Through attention, clarity, and presence. And once you feel it, there is no turning back. Life is no longer lived on the surface. It is inhabited deeply, moment by moment, breath by breath. Now, after all the stillness, all the inward turning, all the energy retained and observed, you arrive at a subtle, almost imperceptible truth. True power does not announce itself. It does not shout. It does not demand recognition. It does not need to prove its existence. It is quiet, patient, unwavering. You have learned this through retention. By holding your energy inward, you have discovered the force that comes not from action alone, but from presence. Power, you now understand, grows in quiet places. In the spaces between impulses. In the pauses between thoughts. In the calm that remains when the mind does not scatter. You notice it in how you move through life. Your decisions are deliberate, not reactive. Your words carry weight, not because they are loud, but because they are born from awareness. You feel it in your body. Grounded in your stance, calm in your breathing, centered in your movements. You no longer need to display strength. Strength flows naturally, effortlessly, from within. You realize that retention has not made you rigid, nor has it made you cold. It has made you attuned. Attuned to yourself. Attuned to the world around you. And in this attunement, you discover influence without force. Authority without assertion. Presence without pretense. You respond rather than react. You act rather than push. You lead not through imposition, but through clarity, calm, and alignment. This is the culmination of the journey. The awareness that power is not in outward displays, but in the stillness that underlies all action. Retention has shown you that energy, when held and observed, does not vanish. It transforms. It strengthens. It awakens the parts of you that move with precision, patience, and purpose. You are no longer pulled by impulse. You are no longer driven by noise. You are guided by presence, by intention. by the quiet strength that grows when silence becomes your ally. And in this quiet, you begin to see life differently. Challenges no longer intimidate. Obstacles no longer overwhelm. You move through the world with a calm authority. An inner compass that never wavers. This is not a fleeting state. It is a foundation. A way of being. A living power that flows through awareness, grounded in self-possession. And now, as this chapter closes, you are ready to carry this awareness forward. Power without display. Presence without effort. Stillness as strength. This is the culmination of retention. This is the mastery of self. Take a deep breath. And feel the quiet that has been growing within you. This journey is not over. It is only beginning. Retention has shown you that silence is not absence, but presence. Not emptiness, but energy awakened and held with awareness. You do not need to prove anything. You do not need to rush. You do not need to search outside yourself for power, validation, or approval. It is already here. Within your breath. Within your body. Within the stillness that you have cultivated. Carry this awareness into your day. Into your actions. Into your interactions. Move slowly. Listen deeply. Act intentionally. And remember, each time you return to silence, you return to your strength. If this journey resonated with you, consider sharing it. Return to it again. Let it deepen over time. Subscribe, follow, or revisit whenever you need a reminder. Not because you are seeking, but because you are committing to presence, to clarity, and to the quiet mastery that grows when silence becomes power. And now, simply sit with this moment. Breathe. Feel. Be.